That's funny. Firelands doesn't look like a gated instance, so we obviously don't need a gatekeeper. Somebody please inform Baleroc that his services are no longer needed. We'll be effectively terminating his employment at Fireland Industries today. Baleroc is a one-phase fight. This is a patchwork-style encounter that centers around coordinated healing in simple but exhausting rotations. Baleroc has 42 million HP and unlike every other boss in the Firelands, spawns no adds. Psh, adds would just slow down his gatekeeping, obviously. You'll want to bring 1 to 2 tanks, 3 healers, and 5 to 6 balanced DPS. For an added advantage, bring melee to this fight for an increase in DPS. On to the skills. Baleroc is a fierce combatant. As such, he expects whoever he is facing to bring it on. That's why throughout the fight, he will use Blaze of Glory to awaken the burning spark within your tanks. This will increase his current target's physical damage taken by 20%, but raise their max HP by 20% to compensate. This effect stacks throughout the fight. Each time he does this, Baleroc will gain a stack of Incendiary Soul, increasing his fire damage dealt by 20%. In addition to this, he will periodically empower one of his 2 swords with fire or shadow energy for 15 seconds. Empowering his weapon with shadow energy will grant him the Decimation Blade ability. His attacks will deal no physical damage, but instead inflict shadow damage equal to 90% of his target's maximum health. Damage from this cannot be prevented, but because he only empowers one weapon, he will attack twice as slow as usual. Empowering his weapon with fire energy will grant him the Inferno Blade ability. This allows his attacks to deal no physical damage but instead do around 100,000 fire damage each hit. During this, DPS will need to concern themselves with his Shards of Torment ability. Baleroc will summon a crystal that inflicts torment on the nearest player. It ticks for minor shadow damage and stacks every second. When torment fades from a player, they will be left with the tormented debuff for 40 seconds. This increases their shadow damage taken by 250% and reduces their healing done by 50%. If nobody is in range of the Shard of Torment crystal, it will pulse for moderate AoE shadow damage to all players. Healers must remain mindful that casting a heal on any player who is afflicted with torment may grant them stacks of Vital Spark. Vital Spark is a buff that will trigger after casting a heal on somebody who is affected with Blaze of Glory. After this occurs, Vital Spark is replaced with Vital Flame and increases all healing done to targets afflicted with Blaze of Glory by 5% per stack of Vital Spark consumed. This lasts 15 seconds. When Vital Flame wears off, the previous stack of Vital Sparks is restored. Okay, we all got our calculus books out. Let's go over exactly how this all becomes useful. Here's the basic premise of the fight. Baleroc increases your tank's health throughout the fight, but also increases the damage your tanks take. In order to keep the tank from being killed, healers need to be able to buff the amount of healing they can do to keep up. The tank health and damage will go up on its own regardless of how you do the fight, so we won't focus on that. Here's what the rest of the raid must concern itself with. Healing players with Tormented will stack a potential healing done buff. Healing the tanks will proc this healing done buff and allow healers to heal for much more than normal. Let's break it down further. Begin the fight by deciding which suckers, DPS, will rotate on the crystals. Players must stand near crystals and eat the torment buff it gives off. Failing to do this will cause it to pulse for shadow damage and eventually wipe the raid. Healers cannot eat torment because the debuff will significantly lower their effective healing. There are 2 basic rotations for the crystal. 4 people with 2 designated to each crystal, or 4 people rotating with 3 on each crystal. Both will work, and it is a matter of what strat your guild and more importantly your healers are more comfortable using. I'll explain both methods. Crystals last around 30 seconds and new ones form shortly after the previous one has despawned. The way a player gains torment is by being the closest player to the crystal. Think of it like being focused. Once the player moves further away, the crystal will focus on the next closest player and they will gain torment. The previous player will then be left with the tormented buff for 40 seconds. During this time, they will be killed if they gain torment again. Here is the basic rotation for the first method. Crystal A spawns. Player 1 takes torment for around 15 seconds. Player 1 moves out of range and allows Player 2 to take the rest of the torment. Crystal B then spawns. Player 3 takes torment for around 15 seconds. Player 3 moves out of range and allows Player 4 to take torment for the rest of the duration. This pattern then repeats. Alternatively, here is the rotation for the second method. Crystal A spawns, Player 1 takes torment for 10 seconds. Player 1 moves away and Player 2 takes torment for 10 seconds. Player 2 moves away and Player 3 takes torment until the Crystal despawns. Crystal B spawns, and beginning with Player 4, they will take torment for 10 seconds, moving to Player 1, moving back to Player 2. Crystal C spawns, which will start with Player 3 and rotate through to Player 1. Crystal D spawns, starts at Player 2, and then rotates through to Player 4. At this point, the pattern repeats. Once your raid has chosen who will eat crystals and what rotation to use, the healers must be given a rotation as well. At any given time in the fight, one healer will be healing crystals while the other two are spamming the tanks. This is fairly easy to split up. Healers will switch off with the crystals. This means that Healer 1 will heal all DPS that eats Crystal A's torment. Healer 2 will heal all DPS that eats Crystal B's torment. Healer 3 will heal all DPS on Crystal C's torment, and the pattern will rotate throughout the fight. Simply stay focused, keep count, and this should be no problem. Whenever healers are not healing torment players, they should be spamming the tanks. The tanks will drop dangerously low throughout the encounter, and healers may not always have a sufficient buff stack to keep them up. Raid cooldowns are best used during Inferno Blades, as it will often lower the damage from the blades as well as the torment. Use healer cooldowns such as Lay on Hands or Nature's Swiftness during Decimation Blades to help top the tank off between hits. Some guilds may choose to 2-tank the fight and have an off-tank taunt the boss during Decimation Blade. This will cause Baleroc to hit for far less damage, since the off-tank will not have high Blaze of Glory stacks. Healers will have a much easier time topping the off-tank off than the main tank in this situation. DPS assigned to the crystals should stay aware of their stacks and use damage reduction cooldowns such as Feint or AMS whenever the stacks get high. This fight does not change from start to finish. Each player must remain aware of their stacks and buffs and debuffs. Losing focus will cause you to miss a critical moment in a key rotation. The strat and fight falls apart very quickly if any player misses their job. If you enjoyed this guide or found it helpful, remember to bookmark us at LearntoRaid.com, subscribe to us on YouTube, Blip TV, and follow us on Justin TV and Twitter. As always, thanks for checking us out here at LearntoRaid, and we'll see you at the next boss.
I wasn't feeling so good. I just didn't feel like playing anymore. So I went home. All scrunched up in front of my phonograph. And I sat there